Muriel James is an internationally known author, psychotherapist, management consultant, workshop leader, keynote speaker, and author of 17 books in print. She's perhaps best known for the book she co-authored, Born to Win, which has sold over 4 million copies in English and has been translated into 18 other languages. The video clips on this tape were selected because of their diversity and span over several years. They include shots of Muriel answering call-in questions on CNN's Night Watch, being interviewed by Regis Philbin and Cheryl Teague on AM Los Angeles, and debating with Jack Webster in Vancouver. Next comes a segment from Eye on Ottawa, and then back again to Today in Montana. Following these video excerpts is a list of corporations, organizations, and associations that Muriel has worked with, along with instructions of how you can get in contact with her. And now, meet Muriel James.
Book about it. Our guest is Dr. Muriel James.
Yes, and the doctor's book is entitled It Is Never Too Late to Be Happy. The book provides framework, sort of a battle plan, if you will, for achieving happiness in life. We certainly want to welcome you to Newsnight Update, Dr. James. And what are we, when we're talking about happiness to make it fit within your definition, we're not talking about somebody necessarily who just laughs an awful lot, are we? How are you defining this this happiness? Is it some sort
No,
of
the person who laughs a lot,
quality?
the person who laughs a lot may be masking a deep unhappiness. I think of happiness more like a peak experience, a transcendent moment, something that transforms life in the here and now. It can be an achievement. It can be a moment of being. So that happiness for some people is like waking up early in the morning. For others, it's sleeping late in the morning.
Doctor, there are a lot of people, I would imagine today, who are unhappy because of loneliness. In that instance, how do they cope with that and begin to have a better image of themselves?
Well, basically in one of two ways. They can begin to see the value of being alone and to find out that being alone is not the same as loneliness, and that loneliness can be a state of mind, because even being with people is sometimes a lonely occupation.
Let's open the phone lines and talk about happiness with Dr. James. First caller, where are you calling from, and what is your question?
I'm calling from Ohio, and I have kind of a strange question. I'm 31, and the last 7 years of my life I went through a hysterectomy, found out I had MVP, mitral valve prolapse. I have low blood sugar, and I get panic attacks. And my question is, can one be happy and also be very depressed at the same time?
Yes, your physician has probably told you that you need to do things to reduce some of the stress in your life. And as you reduce some of the stress in your life, you may be able to watch a butterfly lighting on a flower, dealing with some of your physical problems, and still know that the phone may ring and it may be somebody you love, that a letter may come and it may be a letter you've been waiting for, and that in spite of these things, you've been through a hard, tough years. 7 years is a long time not to feel well. And as you make this decision that you're going to experience happiness in spite of, you will begin to see it happen.
Now we have Muriel James with us on our show, and she has been a guest of ours before. Very interesting lady. Psychologist, Muriel, and has written several books, and the latest being Marriage is for Loving, the co-author of Born to Win. Nice to have you back on the show.
Great to be here,
Yes,
especially today.
Yeah, the women's lib doesn't seem to be making the splash it used to, I suppose because it's becoming established now. And
Yeah, it
being
depends upon what you mean by lib. Yeah, I believe in women.
What do you mean by lib?
What I mean by lib is that women being liberated to think for themselves and to make some of their own choices around their own bodies.
Yeah, the first women who were liberated really were those in Eastern European countries where they were liberated by necessity because their skills were needed. Isn't that right?
I don't think they were liberated.
Well, they became liberated by happenstance.
No.
They became doctors in the Soviet Union because all the men were in the wars.
Oh, no, but if you deal further with ancient history, then there were no liberated women, except perhaps in the ancient Egyptian culture, where as early as 4000 BC, to inherit land, it had to go through the women's side of the family. To get the throne, someone had to marry the woman who had it. Yeah, it was a matriarch. That was the only place where women had liberation. Sparta, they had open marriage.
Oh, I'm
there.
all in favor of women playing a proper part in society, providing that we don't lose the
Providing you decide what the proper part will be.
Providing we don't lose the institution of family altogether.
I don't see why we would.
It looks pretty bad at the moment, I'll tell you.
Well,
very
it's not all women's responsibility.
No.
Men have something to do with it. There's an increasing number of men that I enjoy meeting with that say, I want to be more active in the marriage. I want to have a share in determining...
I want to do the dishes. I want to do the washing.
Is it?
Because every age is a new age.
Yes.
And what's been characteristic of it, at least in the States, is the fact that people have been trying to understand themselves in very different ways. Everything from ESP to massage to this to that to the other thing. So now I think that the movement is moving very quickly to what it means when there's an interface between psychology and the human spirit. And that's really my concern at this particular time. This will be in my 17th book. Transactional analysis is very much in touch with reality. It is not a new method. It started in 1958. It continues to grow, and it's dealing with very, very practical things. Why do you do what you do, and how do you do it? It's not off-the-wall stuff.
Okay, okay. And if you start, I just have a lot of questions about this, because I would wonder, if you relate it to yourself, you wonder, what good is it doing for me? I mean, if you are we not in a dangerous point here with all of these various methods of starting to do too much self-analysis, too much analysis of what we're doing?
It's true that some people can sit around and spend a lifetime analyzing themselves instead of going out on a mission. That is true, and some people do that. However, to know what mission one is involved in requires some knowledge of what the skills are, what the potentials are, what are the cultural myths and mores that may restrict a person. For example, in transactional analysis, then, a person understands how their childhood experiences affect their current life. What kind of
That's important, too.
Yes, because if we've had the kind of experiences in childhood that interfere with our personal growth, then we won't meet our potential.
Muriel, you took a wonderful breath there, and we have to go. Thank you. We could probably talk a whole lot longer on this. Have a good time while you're here. You're here from California.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our guest today is Dr. Muriel James from Lafayette, California, and let me tell you just a little bit about her. She's an international lecturer and consultant in human relations, communications, and transactional analysis. She's also a marriage and family counselor, past president of the International Transactional Analysis Association, and author or co-author of 14 books in about 15 languages. Her latest book is It's Never Too Late to Be Happy, and we welcome Dr. James here today. She was in Great Falls recently to conduct a couple of workshops, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us, Dr. James. Thank you. This subject of happiness is something that is easy to talk about, but a lot of people find it very elusive. And what has been your experience through your travels with people dealing with happiness?
I think that the issue that most people face is whether or not they can enjoy happiness in the day-to-day routine, or whether they only expect happiness to come at the completion of something, the completion of a product, or the completion of some task, or the completion of a degree. And the purpose of this book is to show that both are okay, that it's okay to set goals that lead to being happy, and that it's okay to enjoy the process as you go along. One of the things that's interested me a great deal has been to study the Charter of the United Nations and their Bill of Rights, and to compare that with our own Bill of Rights, because United States is the only country in the world, the only political entity that says we're entitled. It's a right of ours to pursue happiness. Now, I thought about that, and I thought, well, pursuing happiness is no guarantee of getting it, and that's true. Many people have a goal that they believe if they achieved it, new car, new wife, new whatever, they would be happy. And yet the fact that we use those words, that the pursuit of happiness is a basic right, implies that we have the chance of getting it.
Do you think that a lot of people think that they'll find the happiness on the outside of a new spouse or a new job or a new house or something, and don't recognize the importance of doing the work within themselves?
I think people are like that, that they're more outer-directed than inner-directed. There's an increasing number of people, however, throughout the world that are looking for ways to understand themselves, and they begin to realize that happiness can be a state of mind, and that if it's a state of mind, it will only be from within. External forces may enhance it, and that won't be where it's at.
You do a lot of discussion in your book about the idea of self-reparenting.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been deeply influenced by their parents as children. Now, you're telling adults that they can reparent themselves and overcome some of the difficult things, because I know you're speaking to a workshop that's benefiting the Home for Battered Women, for example, and some of those women are having a real difficult time dealing with that type of thing.
Yes, whether it's people who have been battered or people who have not had that terrible experience, the result seems to be the same, that most people in their search for happiness need some internal encouragement, some internal parent that will say, you can do it, you're entitled to do it, you're important, go for it, and will give that kind of impetus. Many children, when they're very small, somehow or another make the decision, usually because of negative experiences, that they're not entitled to be happy, or that even if they are entitled to be happy, that they'll never have the chance. So if they build it into their personality, this new parent that will encourage them to go for it, then they will. And this particular book, and one of my previous books called Breaking Free, is a programmed way of doing it. It says, do this first, then you do this, then you do this, and that'll be the way it'll work.
Right. You were telling me earlier about your grandchild that called you and says, Grandma, did you write this book for me? So it's never too late to be happy, whether you're a youngster or an oldster, is that right?
Yeah. This was a 13-year-old granddaughter who had moved and was in a new school and hadn't made friends and felt miserably unhappy. And the book had just come from the printers, and I'd sent her one, and she called, and she says, well, Grandma, you mean it isn't too late for me? So I said, no, honey, it's not too late for you, whether you're 13 or whether you're getting elderly as I am. Why, I don't believe it's too late, because I believe that now, today, is when you can redecide that in spite of what happened, in spite of some of the tragedies in people's lives, that they can do a turnaround, and they can choose, and they can assess the possibilities, and they can say, hey, today is it. Today is the day that, in spite of everything going on, I'm going to be happy.
Great advice from a lady that gives it all the time in her workshops, in her travels, and through her books. We're very happy to have with us today Dr. Muriel James from Lafayette, California, who is an author of how many books again?
14.
14 books in 15 languages, and a grandma of 14 kids as well. Thank you very much, Dr. James.
Thank you.
As you can see, Muriel James is a vivacious, engaging speaker, writer, and workshop leader. She has spoken to numerous groups around the world and has consulted for corporations including American Airlines, Ford Motor, and Xerox, to name a few. She's also been a speaker and seminar leader for professional associations, such as the American Management Association, the International Red Cross, and the Young Presidents Organization. Muriel has also been a trainer for government agencies and a popular speaker for universities and many religious organizations around the world. Muriel can speak for your group too. To contact her, write Muriel James, 725 St. Mary's Road, Lafayette, California, 94549, or call her at 415-283-2352. Thank you for watching. Muriel will look forward to hearing from you soon.